Okay, we are live streaming. I will call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. So we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. We don't have any amendments, I believe, do we, Sue? No, we don't. Okay. So the recommendation is that the council and committee agenda for Tuesday, April 6, 2021 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest today? Okay, I'm seeing none.
None here.
Okay, then we will move to delegations and subcommittees. And our delegation this morning is Paul Rivett-Carnac, President and CEO of St. Francis Herb Farm, regarding your media release. And welcome, Paul. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Please take it away. Talk to us.
Okay.
Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just doing a bit of a media press push right now to get the exciting news and get the word out there. We've done I think a pretty good job keeping the local community up to speed with what's happening, but we kind of want to push it out further to the Ottawa area and to the industry as well, and to get people in the loop with the exciting developments. So thank you for your interest and having me on today. And so just wanting people to know what's going on with the status of the project, and it is just coming along well. Construction is well underway right now with the steel prefab building coming up, and so that's really exciting to see. It's much more visible progress. It's above ground as opposed to the foundation work, which was kind of in the ground, and it was not as immediately visible to see the progress there. So, but we've had a relatively mild winter and a wonderful spring, so that's really been helping us. And so the weather really hasn't gotten in the way of the project too much. So we just want to acknowledge again all those who've been involved to date with this project, both at the municipality level and the county level specifically. And what's been striking for me as the project has developed over time, it's just the amount of people and parties that have had to be involved to make this project, come to fruition. So it's just the efforts of so many people through the site plan, the building permits, the design of the building, and then now in the construction stage. It's just really remarkable. So really continue to be grateful and to all those who have had a hand to play in all this, and all those present here as well for your support. So we're really excited to watch it go up. We're really can't wait to get in. And this new facility is just going to be such a critical part of our continued success, the growth that we're planning as we empower more Canadians on their wellness journey through high quality and crafted plant medicine. So in terms of the main takeaways for today, we are projecting a move-in date for October. And we're looking to have a ribbon cutting ceremony at that time. So no plans yet for that, but we'll be letting you guys know. We're more, and hopefully, who knows where things will be at with COVID in October. It's anybody's guess at this point, but we really want to, if the restrictions permit and all that, to make this a real big event, and would love to have anybody who's interested from the township and council here to join us. So no specific plans yet, but we'll definitely be letting you guys know. And yeah, so, and also I just want to thank everybody here on council, the township, and the local community for your ongoing support. We've been hearing from a lot of people, and it's just really been heartwarming for Caitlin and myself to hear the ongoing support and messages of support that we've been receiving over these last number of months. It's just been really gratifying, and we also want to thank our neighbors for their continued patience. I know it's a fair bit of noise coming from the construction site right now, so it is something that you're not used to, and I'm sure I'd rather have quiet than noise in my own home. So we are really grateful for their patience and for their support as well. So just want to share the good news, and again thank council for your support.
Thank you, Paul. I think, you've gone above and beyond to make sure that everyone's been engaged, that you've, spoken to the issues that any neighbors had, that you've kept the whole community on side with this project. And
Okay.
this is a fantastic project for our community. It's very exciting to see your business growing the way it is. And we really are looking forward to that day when the ribbon can be cut and your
Yeah.
employees can get into that new building, and we can really see your business blossom from that point on.
Well, thank you.
I certainly recognize you've worked very hard to be doing everything you're doing out of a very constrained space
Yeah.
you currently have. I know you gave me a tour a number of years ago, and it was I was astounded how much you packed into such a small space.
Yeah, it's worse now.
But that's good. Your business
Yeah.
is growing. So,
thank
really,
you.
really pleased to see this project and how well it's been organized and planned and
Yeah.
developed, and how the community's been brought on board. We're all really,
Yeah.
really happy to see this come to fruition. I think you'll find that
Appreciate
there'll be 5 members of council there. Even if we have to stand 6 feet apart and be masked,
Yeah.
we'll be just
Well,
so
that's
happy to
great.
see this.
Thank you.
Did any
Sure.
members of council want to, any comments from council?
Yeah, or questions? I'm happy to
Or
answer.
questions? Absolutely. Councillor Poplinski.
Yeah, no questions. Just great, Paul, and congratulations again on what you've done. Looking forward to working with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. And again, thank you from everyone. We do appreciate that it's been a great partnership, and we're excited to see this. We're excited to see it finally done. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to be kind of moving from a make-do environment, right, to something that's really going to allow us to take these next steps. We've been saying no to opportunities. We've been saying no to certain business just because of the situation we're in. So it's just going to be a new lease on life for us. So. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, it's nice to see such a great family-owned and intergenerational business developing and flourishing in our community. So
well, and then it's a shout out to our team. I get to sit here in my office, and I do have a bit more space. But we have a lot of team members that don't have the luxury I have, and they are working hard and pivoting in these COVID times too has been another level of complexity and challenge, and so it's really owe a lot to our team here at St. Francis that's soldiered on through these times. So shout out to them as well. So.
Great, thank you, and keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
Keep us in the loop. We're really excited for you.
Great, appreciate it, guys.
Take care, Paul.
Okay, take care. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, that's fantastic news. Good for our community, and hopefully by the fall, we'll see that business opening up and up and running out of the new space. So at this point, we're going to enter the standing committee portion of our meeting. All recommendations from the standing committees are recommendations to council and are pending the approval of council at a subsequent meeting. Our first section is operations, roads, and waste management, and I'm going to turn it over to Chair Bromwich. Take it away, Chair
Thank you.
Bromwich.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. We have municipal reports 5.1, 5.1.1, which is a Dam Lake Road letter from Bradley Law Office about transferring Part 2 on Dam Lake Road. Item number 5.1.2 is the brush depot, excuse me, that we do each year, establishing a brush depot down in the Yard 2 in Cumbermere and Bark Lake Waste Disposal Site. Item 5.1.3, we have a year-end report through our operations manager here of 2020. And 5.1.4, we have budget to actual report, roads and waste management report dated March 31st, 2021. I think everybody's probably had a chance to read these, and I'll maybe turn it over to Hillary just to address each issue a little bit, maybe give us a little bit of background on them. Hillary, if you wouldn't mind joining us on that.
Good morning, all.
Hillary?
Through you, Chair. So Dam Lake Road, we maintained that road. And there was a section, a part 2 that wasn't identified to be in the township's ownership. So simple maneuver. The two proponents, Barry and Randall Rikuski, would transfer it over to the township for no cost. Part 2, it's on the map if you can see it. Yeah, so part 2, and there's a recommendation attached.
Okay. I'll let Sue read the recommendations at the end of this, if that's all right. Item 5.1.2, brush depot. It's fairly straightforward, Hillary, I guess, like we do each year.
Yes, through you, Chair. We've been doing
Sure.
this now for, I would hazard a guess, probably 3 years. It works very well. We get rid of it after it's dumped. We wait for the fall, and then we pick up the ashes out of it and transfer it over to Bark Lake. It's very safe. It's I talked to the fire chief. He's recommends this approach. It results in less possible fires from individuals. So it seems to work very well. So we kind of changed the recommendation, a different approach. Instead of bringing this back every year, maybe making this an annual event, just proceed like every year and just do it. If that's okay.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
5.1.3, year-end report. Everybody has the PDF there. First part is, I guess, I'll let you speak to this anyway, Hillary.
Yeah, and this is Mike's document. He did a nice job with this, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Phillips.
Morning,
Hey,
everyone.
Mike.
20-year end performance and our 2021 projected. Everyone, all our new purchases of last year, leveling and paving and shouldering for 2020. And then kind of go through line by line.
It's fairly straightforward. Anybody else? Here's road work was really well done, and part of 2, I think, too. So
Nice to get a head start on the project.
exactly. And I don't think 4 roads and waste men speak to that, Mike or Hillary.
We haven't went out again advertised right now, so expenditures. We're just holding until there's 2 tenders closing on get various other tenders. So we are out through all.
Recommendations, Sue, would you like to read them for us?
Yes, through the chair. 5.1 from Bradley Law Office, letter dated respond to Bradley Law Office to proceed presented at the April 2020. So I need to move.
Also, I don't see any. And recommendation number 2.
5.1.2 2020 report the brush depot annually from the operations manager and weather condition waste disposal site 219.
I could have a seconder, and that's passed.
The 2020 operations year
And seconded. Discussion. I see none, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll pass.
Thank you, Chair. Schulist.
Reports, I see that Ontario Clean Water, which is our annual report. Is there any concerns? I'm sure everybody's, and from my side, the document or the.
Mayor Love, I can just field some questions.
I think that's a good idea. So, Madam Mayor.
I was just wondering, 11 of the report, which is page 50, objective monitoring, and there's a list to the graphs we see solids, which is one of them, just total ammonia nitrogen. See in the graphs with some of the actions in order to ensure that if it was preferred that you brought up the first one.
Yeah, so looking at the graphs, lines on each graph, and the blue line, that is our limit. So that's constant to that monthly average to be in compliance, that'd be reported. Darkest line with the squares active. So that's what the plant in compliance, but the ministry the objective. And if we're over, initiate, corrective actions to bring that to be under the objective. This line with the triangles, that's for each month. Notice that report, I list any limit, that would be that to the ministry, and that goes in as an action that we take to the ministry, and then anything over the objective on page 11 that you're referring to. 3 areas that we were is our plant to make it run better. So common exceedance you'll see is total. With the ammonia, it comes down to provide oxygen so that the microorganisms can be converting that ammonia into like nitrates and nitrites into the environment. We have a loss as the amount of time the air is off. It seems like this time seems like it's broken. If you increase the aeration time too much, organisms that are doing our work for actually consume all of our will go down. If we have any index, that's reportable right away. So we really low. That means that the water is acidic and it's harmful. We want to keep that above 6. So we have a delicate between keeping the below objective, but not have time to where our pH is going to be non-compliance issue. In your graph that there is no limit, we want to keep it the objective, but we don't want to sacrifice keep it under the objective. So it's because in that aeration time, but we have able to control it, and we see that aeration playing through the different seasons. The totals parameters, when those objectives, a lot of those say adjusted coagulant, adjust coagulant. So with our, it's not only just adjust the parts of the process and different times. With our phosphorus exceedance, so to limit with phosphorus, what time of the process it add the chemical, and if you add too much balance, right? So that's where the corrective action came in. Our chemical dosage optimized had to do with cleaning. It wasn't chemical at all. It was the tank was actually harboring some bacteria that had been the winter, and then once the phosphorus promotes things to grow. So actually, I was talking to the operator this already. Got a head start of our spring cleaning program, and by keeping this time last year with our we are pretty confident in our phosphorus reserve.
Okay.
Okay, satisfied with all that?
I do a
Yes.
follow-up question, I guess, would be about probably the ECA objective drops down in April and then goes back up like that. I just don't recall it. What you're aiming, right?
Yeah, and it's the ministry recognizes that in the colder temperatures during the summer months when we're outside and the water temperature plant's designed to be able to get values under 1, but during the allowed us in the winter months. So between the limits at 3 milligrams time, it goes down to 1. Sorry.
I get that. It's just I cause even the fact that year may mean it's difficult to get the plant to do outside is changing at a different pace than normal. So yeah, I'm here and recognize that it takes a great tweaking to get this to work. It's not for explaining Scott on any of the peaks in the graph. We can answers back to anyone who does. Okay.
Of course.
If that's all right. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. Committee. Seeing none, I I see there's a ration, so maybe Madam C.
Yes, through the chair, that the 2020 Systems Annual Report be approved as presented.
I will move that. I need a seconder. Madam Mayor has seconded. Is any more discussion on this matter? Having seen none, all in favor? That carried. Your shirt, Blue Jay fan, are you? This
Oh, of
could be their
course.
season.
Did yesterday, didn't they?
Anyway, we'll move on to 6.1.2, study the feasibility of expanding. We talked about that a few times at some of our meetings. And with this report, I have a question, and I don't know who to refer to this here. They're leaving like a blank. Now, anyone?
Yeah, so in this document, I had spoke to Nick about, he was part of the AMP project and things like, so he has about 15 years. And so what this would do in this new on municipal services, one, he would give you a map highlighting the elevations and which with the gravity sewer, if it would require or complete. So the intent was just to ensure the scope of what cover off those.
I think this is exactly what we're looking.
Yes, so just for a bit of clarity, the plan is something we wanted to, as part of the review of the county official plan, blank numbers there is exactly as specs. I would have a resolution that you agree with this proposed timelines and projects that then would come back to council.
Yes. Well, listen, I was here, but I want to hear. Anybody have anything? Councillor, you're muted. Yes.
Okay, because it is and reference that and we may be ready to have a better understanding of what's happening down the road. It's coming to our table so we can be for some people onto the system. So.
Okay, and
I think this actually will cover what council, especially on this much better sense of this. And from that perspective, I'm really chair for consideration. I don't know what it would cost to do this. Some way we could digitize a distribution system. It would be far more useful to hone in on that would cost, but of getting into the digital and hoping the map's right. And it would be nice to get that down. Probably go well with this problem from paper maps to. So I don't know, Ashley, if you could speak.
Whitewater region just went to GIS last summer. They were seeing a few images and curb stop, any valve in the road, you can, all the coordinates are there. And it's, from what I've seen, it was a pretty good interface that you could just scroll around. Yes, Kim is right, the electronically, but it's just simply a scan is there. So the GIS component, I believe, would be very, very useful, especially in something XX. You could simply go and look at this area and see if that is sustainable.
Okay, so we could investigate a little bit to do, as I say, have it so that it's GIS'd and going forward, you know, if one of our long-term employees of Aqua leaves, there's knowledge still there, you know, besides just the map, there's that knowledge is now ingrained in a digitized format. That is this something that council could consider? It's a planning thing as far as I see it that needs to be done.
Yeah, I can see a benefit from this. It'd be nice to get a little bit, let's say, the cost and whatever, because long runs and plus in the digital era, so we should you know, keep up with the times and all these departments and staff and so on. It'll make it much easier for them also to bring in some reports to us and all that. So I thought I saw a hand of Councillor Wilmer. Yes, Councillor Wilmer.
Sorry, just going back to the report, I was just going to add that, you know, I too agree that it's we need to have this done. This is exactly what we need to do. And I think right now, I noticed that it's going to take about 20 weeks once we approve and get it moving. But I think the timing right now is perfect. And if there's any time that we should be prepared for growth, it's right now. So I really support this and think we should go ahead, get the prices on it and move on this. I think it'd be very valuable.
All right. Anyone else? Now, Madam CEO, we probably needed a sort of,
servicing area as presented by Clean Water Agency to timelines and costs for the project as proposed, and that Aqua staff and municipal staff investigate process and cost to consider future map digitization of water, wastewater infrastructure and bring consideration.
I will move that. Does anybody second that? Councillor Brumwich. Any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any. All in favor? It is carried. Okay, very good. Just give me a second here to get organized. Okay, so the next one here is a budget. So anytime I see the word budget, I think of Amanda. So can you tell us about this here? Thank you very much.
Okay. So presenting to you the 2021 draft municipal drinking water system budget. Oh, I should ask, would council like me to share my screen, or are you comfortable with what you have? I can share my screen.
I'm fine with the paper copy that I got in front of me. Anybody else want it? Doesn't look like it. Amanda, you can continue.
Okay. Okay. So where am I here? Here we go. So I'm going to start rhyming off some discussing and talking with some numbers, and just ask me to slow down if need be. So being presented to you, the municipal drinking water system budget with a 2% increase in the cubic meter rate, bringing it to $4.77 per cubic meter, or $71.55 quarterly, with a 15 cubic meter minimum. This is presented as 9 cents more per cubic meter from the 2020 rate of $4.68 per cubic meter, or $1.35 more quarterly for the minimum. This rate increase aligns with the recommended rate increase based on the 2020 water wastewater rate study and financial analysis presented earlier to council. The budget allows for $70,000 addition to capital reserves. These funds are important to build for the future capital investment as our infrastructure ages, which allows us to manage our rate changes. A withdrawal from the surplus account in the amount of $70,641. Now, there was an error that was discovered on the draft budget with regards to the cost plus amounts applied to the incorrect budgets. So I will walk you through this as we go through the budgets one by one. The withdrawal of the surplus amounts allows us to approve of priority 1 and 2 items identified on the Ontario Clean Water Agency schedule attached, and the capital works identified under section 2.2.1 of the water and wastewater rate study attached as well. Okay, where am I? So let's go into the budget. So this budget is being presented with a metered billing of $515,160. I am proposing a withdrawal of $70,641 from the surplus deficit transfer account. Originally, within your budget package, I had proposed a withdrawal of $48,598. And the reason here is right here, the Aqua operation contract. When I looked at the cost plus reports that were previously presented by the Ontario Clean Water Agency staff, I mixed the two up. So the cost plus, I had originally applied the wastewater 2020 deficit to the water account and vice versa. So the Aqua operation contract for 2021 is actually $275,983. Within the expenditures are Aqua repair requests of $18,000. This includes electrical and instrumentation and controls of $5,100, distribution parts of $5,100, scales of $5,000. And although those three numbers do not add up to 18,000, I have built in a little bit extra because we have recognized that 2021 prices have increased significantly. Although we do have these schedules from the Ontario Clean Water Agency staff, you can tell that the prices increase by 2% annually, but we've realized that some of the prices are increasing even more than that. So it's important to put in a little bit extra.
Through the chair, I believe Mayor Love had a question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So Chair, I think because some of these numbers have changed from what council has in front of them, it would actually be very helpful if Amanda shared her screen.
Oh,
Because I'm kind of struggling with, I'm not sure what numbers have changed, and if she could just point them out, that would help me certainly.
okay.
Amanda's
Oh, I
saying,
can.
"Oh, no."
There we go.
I'm
No,
sorry
no,
to ask,
no,
but I think
no,
it would
it's
be
fine.
helpful
Yes.
because there
go.
are
Sure did.
differences, and we're looking to pass the budget today.
I'm sorry. I
Thank
thought
you.
I was sharing my screen, but I couldn't see you on the side. So I thought, okay, that
Yeah.
looks different here.
Okay.
All
Thank you,
right.
Amanda.
Okay, so can you see it clearly? I did blow it up 150%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, much better.
Okay. All right. So water system budget. So here are our revenues. I'm proposing that the revenues be $592,348. That would include the metered billing amount, the $70,641 from surplus deficit, and then any late penalty fees, miscellaneous revenues, which are typically if a property changes hands and then there's closing of a water account and transferring over to a new owner. And transfer from the general fund. So we just apply costs from the fire and the parks departments towards this for the use of the hydrants and the watering systems. Then we have our water expenditures proposed at $592,348, which offsets our revenues. This is the Aqua operation contract, $275,983. Which has the built-in additional $23,446.62 cost plus charges that were presented at a previous meeting to council. These are the Aqua repair requests that I spoke of earlier. And you have that schedule attached to your budget. So we have those items identified as electrical instrumentation and controls of $5,100. Distribution parts 5,100 and scales for 5,000 with extra for cost increases. We also have our capital reserve for future capital expenditures. And then within this budget is a capital expenditure of $46,820, which is, apologize. Here we go. We have hydrant and water main repairs as identified as priority 2 on your schedule. We have the high lift and low lift pump backwash pump rebuilds identified as priority 1 items for $7,500. Additional priority 2 items for $16,320. We have built in a $3,000 annual cost of the rate setting and analysis and financial plan update And that is over 4 years, 5 years. And then $10,000 for a chemical feed system replacement. And that again is identified in your attachment from the rate setting and analysis study that was created previously. If council has any questions.
Any questions from council? I don't see any. Oh, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. The last one, Amanda, is it not, or is it on the list that Aqua provided us that was page 67 of our package? The one that identifies some of those smaller items, that chemical feed system, is it on there or is it just coming solely from the report?
That's from the water and wastewater rate study report under point 2.2.1, section
Okay.
2.2.1.
All right, so I guess my question is then, is that, does Aqua feel it's necessary to do that this year if it wasn't put on the targeted items for completion, or is it being captured? Is it being captured by the other report because it's a capital item? I'm trying to understand why it wasn't on the page with all the other things. And if it didn't absolutely need to be done this year, could it be done next year? Like, are we ready to do it? Does it need to happen? And I don't know that you can answer that. Probably we would have been better off with Ashley to answer my question, because it's more of a, you know how there are things, oh good, there are things in reports. So Ashley, there are things in reports that they think might need to be done. Does this need to be done this year?
I believe in my sheet, I had it proposed around, this year was just smaller at $2,040 just for diaphragms and pump parts and small day-to-day stuff that we would utilize, as opposed to a complete chemical feed system replacement.
Okay, so is that what we're going to do, or are we ready for a complete replacement? That's, I guess, what I'm questioning.
I don't believe at this time we are.
Okay. So this is coming out of reserves, Amanda?
This is coming from the surplus deficit.
Okay, so should Aqua decide we don't need to do a complete replacement, but just do the smaller items replacement, then we would just not withdraw this full amount from
Correct.
Surplus deficit. Okay, so I'm good with that, because sometimes when you start to take something apart, you find out it's in worse shape than you thought it was. So I'm good with this, but let's, if we don't absolutely need to replace it this year, I'd prefer that we do what we need to do, and we save the money for the year when we're going to have to do the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for explaining. I appreciate.
And I would just like to also just identify here. So I've tried to fill in for the future, the next 4 years, the capital items that have also been identified from Ontario Clean Water Agency. So we can see kind of what we're looking at for some of the capital expenditures for the future, just so we can understand where we're going, and so that the public can see what's in the future as well.
Precisely. Very good. Is anybody else from committee, any committee member have any questions? Thank you, Amanda, for sharing your screen. Remember, sharing is caring.
It sure is. Okay.
Now, are we finished now, Madam CEO? This is a draft and all that, and at some point it's going to come to our council, and that do we need to have a recommendation of some kind to bring it from committee to the council?
If I may, through the chair, the bylaw to adopt the water and wastewater budget is at the end of this meeting, within the bylaw portion of the meeting.
Chair Schulist, if I may.
Yes.
I think I would like to move into the wastewater budget portion as well, because they do work so closely together. We only have a few ratepayers that are only on the wastewater system and not on the wastewater system. But in approving one rate, it's important to consider the other rate as well for the users of the system. So I would like it, although we have two different budgets, it's ultimately it comes as one package deal when they get their water bill and their wastewater bill. So if we could move into the wastewater budget, would that be all right?
I have no problem. I'm sure there's no objection from committee members.
Okay.
I don't see any, so thank you.
All right. Okay. So the 2021, let me just grab my paperwork here. Okay. The 2021 draft municipal wastewater treatment system budget. This budget is being presented to you with a 2% increase in the cubic meter rate, bringing it to $5.11 per cubic meter, or $76.65 quarterly for a 15 cubic meter minimum. This is 10 cents more per cubic meter from the 2020 rate of $5.01 per cubic meter, or $1.50 more quarterly for the minimum. This rate increase aligns with the recommended rate increase based on the 2020 water and wastewater rate study and financial analysis presented earlier to council. This budget allows for $63,686 addition to capital reserves. These funds are important to build for future capital investment as our infrastructure ages and allows us to manage our rate changes. A withdrawal from the life cycle reserve account in the amount of $42,957. So as I previously identified on the water system budget, there was an error with the operational contract number in the expense side. So I had to adjust the reserve amount in the revenue side. The withdrawal of these amounts, it allows us to approve of priority 1 and 2 items identified on the Ontario Clean Water Agency schedule attached, and the capital works identified under section 2.2.2 of the water and wastewater rate study attached. So on your budget, this is the number that you will see different here. Let me just get paper. So originally it had said a withdrawal from capital reserves of 65,000. So I've adjusted that to 42,957. The metered billing amount is proposed at 551,880, and late penalty of 4,500 is forecasted, bringing us a total wastewater system revenue of 601,637. Wastewater expenditures for 2021 proposed include, the major one is the Ontario Clean Water Agency operation contract. And that includes that is our annual fee plus $1,403.47, which was identified in the previous annual report provided by Ontario Clean Water. This repair contingency for $18,000 is priority 1 items on the Ontario Clean Water Agency schedule, which is attached. One item of importance right here. Wastewater system aqua plant upgrade repairs. So we budgeted 19 in 2020. We actually spent 51,082, and that is the legal matter of the wastewater system. And it was my understanding that the matter has been finalized and completed. And that is why there is $0 budgeted for the 2021 year. All right. We have 65,000 identified in capital expenditures. and 63,686 in capital reserves. The wastewater capital expenditures include 15,000 for priority 2 items on the schedule, 35,000 for SBR platform, and 15,000 for infiltration and inflow study assessment, which is camera work. So if council has any questions.
Yes, I see Madam Mayor has her hand up and she has a question for you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. On that, the legal matter, that's not legal fees, correct? That's monies that were determined that remained owing on the upgrade of the wastewater plant that was done in 2009.
Correct. That's the settlement of that legal matter, not legal fees.
No, it is some outstanding invoices that needed to be paid.
Correct.
Yes, because at the time there was a freeze put on everything while the issue was addressed.
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. And then I'm going to ask a question for Ashley, my favorite one. So at this point, we have the 35,000 for the SBR platform. Are we at the point where we really have to do this? I mean, is this, we're getting to the point now where we recognize that having the legal issue is settled, so there aren't going to be any further issues arising from that. So is this a good time to make this decision and invest in these platforms to make the plant safer?
I believe, yes, if the funds are there, that instead of the workarounds and equipment rentals and things of that nature to pull the pumps and safely access the equipment, if the funds are there, we can start to get quotes and looking at them. I believe the original quotes were probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So.
All right. So, I mean, up until now, with the legal issue that we were involved in, we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. So we now know that's not going to be a factor as it relates to addressing this safety issue. Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to be clear about that. So that's fine. Thank you. And is it anticipated then, is this 35,000 a quote from a few years ago? Is it likely to be a little bit more than this then? Come on, I'm putting you on the spot.
got me on that one. Yeah, I'm really not sure. I'm sure the labor rates really haven't changed a whole lot, but the actual the metals prices, I'm sure, have fluctuated now with COVID pricing. But we will get quotes and we will bring it back for review prior to completing any works.
Okay, thank you. I think that's important because if it does happen to, because of shortfalls in product, et cetera, to be exceptionally more expensive, I think council would want to consider that in finally giving a go ahead on this project. But thank you. So if you could bring us back a quote on that, that would be great.
Certainly.
Thank you.
And I would just like to say again, within this repair contingency line of 18,000, there is a little bit more than what's actually on the schedule identified for the priority 1 items from Ontario Clean Water Agency to help us out, because we do know some of those costs will be a little bit higher this year. So hopefully we have a little bit or enough within a cushion to offset some of these costs. So do I have any other questions from council?
Yes, any other questions for Amanda? Not seeing any. I guess it'll be the same thing as the water budget. It'll go under bylaw. Now the 6.1.5, it's sort of interchanged too, or interrelated to it. Do you want to speak on that one, Amanda?
Sorry. Let me get my paperwork. I've included the budgets to actuals for councillors if they have questions. I My desk is awash with papers, but I will definitely collect those questions, and then I can provide a report for the next meeting if they wish.
Okay, and all the paperwork on it's page 75 to 82. I see Madam Mayor has a question.
Sorry, yes, Chair. On page
No problem.
77, I noticed this is for the railway station. Heat, the actual value in 2020 was 1,442, but it says the actual value for 2021 now is 1,449, and we've only done half of 2021. So I'm just wondering if there's a posting error or if there's been a significant increase in our heating costs at the railway station. If somebody could just check that out.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That was all.
Any other questions from committee members? Seeing none, I think my report is done. I don't see no correspondence, no information. I don't think there's any unfinished business. Madam CEO, no unfinished business, right? Okay, I am finished. To you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chair Schulis. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Scott, for being with us and taking our impromptu questions. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Go Blue
Enjoy
Jays,
the rest
go.
of your meeting.
Thank you.
All right, our next section is fire and protection and emergency management, and I'm going to turn it over to Chair Poplinski.
Thank you, Mayor Love. I'm just wondering, is Chief Quad with us this morning?
I am, Chair Poplinski.
Wonderful. Welcome. And we have in 7.1, the municipal reports with fire and protection and emergency management. I'm just wondering if you would like to share with us your report.
Okay, so far the fire department has responded to 14 fire calls so far this year. The whole 14 went up in the north end with the south hall responding to one structure fire. So they've only had to respond to one call so far in the first 4 months of the year. That's pretty much it. Unless you have questions about the breakdown, I've got the percentages on that sheet through at the back. There's no questions. I'll move off to bylaw. So far this year, I've had 14 bylaw complaints. No garbage complaints yet. We've had a couple of animals. The animal complaints are dogs barking. One's been loose, returned to the owner. We've had a few parking complaints with vehicles being left in the way of snow plows, so I've dealt with that issue. We've had one property standards issue which was resolved, and we've had 2 landlord tenant complaints so far. They've both been resolved so far, so that's been going pretty good. Then we got complaints about sea containers, which the building inspector and I have both responded to, including the one complaint with the landlord tenant. Both the building inspector and myself have attended that and got that resolved. Like I said, the sea containers seem to be quite an issue for us so far. We've had on the last page 10 complaints of sea containers being placed on properties without building permits or notification to the building inspector for that. So that's one problem. We haven't had any issues with trailers or bunkies so far this year. So I don't know if there's any questions about that so far.
Chair?
Yeah, yes, Mayor Love, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I think a lot of people just don't recognize that they do need a building permit to place a sea container on their property. I'm wondering if we could do a little bit of education in our municipal corner and on our website, just highlighting that so people are aware that they do need a building permit for this, and I think that might help to ensure that they're being placed properly, and you know that they're meeting setbacks and all the things that are required of the sea container being placed under the building permit process. So I think if we could be proactive and educate, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Madam CEO.
Just wanted to add to that point that the deputy clerk and the building department have been putting out more notices, both online as well as in the newspaper.
Okay.
And there was inclusion in our township tidbits as well. So that has started. Well,
Yeah,
continued, it has
I
been
think
there.
that's a very good, yeah, very good point. I think not everybody reads the paper, not everybody has access to the internet, but I think we'll do everything we can and what you've suggested. And it's an education thing like so many other issues that we deal with. So that's good. Any other questions on the report from the chief? Okay, well then, yes, Mary Love?
Sorry, Chair, I just thought of this. Sometimes when somebody moves, they have a large container put on their property to pack all of their possessions into, and then it's taken away by truck. Does that wouldn't be in the same situation as a sea container, would it? I just want to be a clear understanding of that.
Yes, Chief Quad?
No, that's an exception to the rule. Say like even if somebody's doing a major renovation, those are allowed. It's the sea containers that are sitting there to you like sort of more or less what they call permanent for a garage or something like that. No temporary renovations or moving or anything. That's an exception to the rule. There's no permits required for that, and we don't go after people for that. That's one question I do inquire when I do go to the property, or what are you up to? Like if they are that, I said then they're fine. I'll let report back to the building inspector. That's clear. But no, there's no permits required for anything like that. I do educate people when I do speak to them before we do end up sending a letter. So I find out what's going on first. So, but yeah, I agree with you. The education part also.
Okay, so that might be a good component of our education, because I know that some people do get those containers if they're planning to move and they're shipping their belongings cross country or whatever. So I think we want to identify to the public that there is a difference between a sea container that you're using for permanent storage and a container that's there temporarily. Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to the next item. You're still with us there, Chief?
Yes, okay. The next item is fire department activities. Over the past month has been kind of busy with things. The 2007 North Hall pumper and the 2012 South Hall pumper, both their automatic chargers had failed and been replaced. So that's repaired onto the truck. The annual safety for the North Hall rescue's been done and completed. The South Hall has had its some kind of short in the tanker base, so the heater module got burnt out, so we had to replace that, and the lights and the entire tanker base shorted out or something caused it, so they were going all replaced and fixed now back in South Hall. The Valley Manor and the Champlain Gardens both have done virtual mock evacuations, which is required for their compliance through the Ontario Fire Code, so that went well. On March 1st, we had a carbon monoxide call to Madawaska Valley District High School and Sherwood Public School, in which we ended up evacuating 400 people for about an hour. We had discussed opening up an evacuation center, but at that time the principals didn't figure it was required. So as we cleared each part of the school, or allowed students back into certain sections, that went real well. Between the fire department and the staff worked perfect. April 1st, which was last week, wildfire season started. That goes from April 1st to October 31st. Fires can be set from 2 hours before sunset to extinguished 2 hours after sunrise. And just a reminder, campfires can't be bigger than 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters, is 2 feet by 2 feet. They don't require a permit, but any fires bigger than that do require a permit. So far, we've had no calls. We've been good on that, which is great. The signs have been all changed. Permits are $10. They're available at the municipal office during business hours, at the Barry's BBQ when they're open, and at the CO Country Market while they're open. And like I said, they're $10 for 5 days. The CEOs signed a letter of intent. The deputy clerk has sent that back for the grant from the Ontario Fire Marshal's office for training. So it will be used to purchase large screen monitors for the each fire hall, new laptop for training for the fire halls, and take the 1072 hazmat awareness, which is at the level that the firefighters have to meet for basic firefighting, which was the online will be done, portion will be done online, and then the written test will be supposed to be on April 18th, but that could be postponed till later date because of COVID. But that's what's the money's going to be used for, at $5,600. And Freshet has started for 2021. We've had 2 calls so far. Burke Lake is starting to refill. Kaministiquia Lake's at average for this time of the year. and they don't expect any real flooding. They figure maybe 1 or 2 more meetings and the freshet will be over. So that's going real good for us this year. So there should be no major issues with flooding by sounds of everybody.
Is that the extent of your report, Chief?
That is the extent of report, Chair.
Within your report here, you mentioned March the 1st, you had a situation at the high school where the students had to evacuate. Without getting into too many of the specifics, I'm more concerned about future and whatever the issue was, that it's being dealt with properly, and what sort of records, if you have any, do you get a report on that you could share with council?
I get a report from the Renfrew County District School Board. I probably share that to council once I do get it. So we did rectify it. We did figure out the problem was. It's happened once before. It has been rectified. But I will ask the maintenance person for it. But I won't be able to put it in public, but I can share it with council.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that was my main concern, because we don't want to see that happening too often, and it can be very problematic. But it sounds like you're on top of it, and they've found the issue, and it's being addressed. And so, okay, well, we can move on. And I do have some. You haven't talked in any depth about the issue with the Fire College. Are you going to be doing that?
We're still waiting on a little more information on what's going to exactly happen. They're trying to, right now at the Fire College, they're still trying to come up with regional training centers and proper, there's four different scenarios. There's training centers, there's community colleges, there's learning contracts, and then there's possible doing our own online training with possibly having a proctor come in to do the testing.
Okay. I'm just wondering, Chief, and I'm sorry I didn't ask if any of the council or members had any questions about the previous report. There may be, and I'm sorry about that, but please raise your hand if you do wish to address any of the points. Okay, I don't see that. So, okay, well then let's get back to that particular. So we're still in a bit of a quandary as to what's happening, but what reading through the material, what it looks like is that we could be facing there's going to be a lot of extra costs. I don't think there's any question. Doesn't matter how you slice it and dice it. But one of the issues, and when we're looking at doing a lot of the in-house training, first of all, do we have the personnel qualified to do this currently? That would be a big question. And I'm hoping that I wouldn't ask you to have all this information today, but hopefully at our next meeting you will have. Do we have somebody qualified? Are we looking at a more of a sort of permanent position in training? Because there's a lot being shifted. A lot of the responsibility is being shifted to us, and it's fine to suggest that people can do training online. But first of all, are we able to do that? Do the personnel have that particular ability or interest in doing it? And if not, then we need to take a more very, very active approach here. And I also, along that line, I was wondering whether we have some sort of a computer program that we can monitor and keep track of the training for each individual as well, and as long as we're meeting the various steps as we go along, because this is a really big change, and I'm sure council is aware of it. And we're responsible. So I'm just, those questions are something that I'm sure you're thinking about, and you probably got the answers. I don't expect that you're going to have them all today, but it is something that certainly caused me to want to get some answers, because we're not going to get them from the ministry. They're going to help us out, but it looks like they really put the ball in our court. And would you like to just a general comment about anything that I raised?
You're 100% correct, Chair Poplinski. We are looking at possibly presenting to have an actual fire prevention officer, somebody certified as a prevention officer, but would be recognized by the Fire College as a proper trainer, facilitator. The other thing is I'm also looking at what you said about the training records. There is two companies that do offer an online Ontario Fire College record and do proper documentation. So we're looking at the cost of that. There's 3 or 4 other fire departments I'm discussing with, see if they're going to do it that way, see if there's proper possible savings of money if we could get to all sort of go in the same line, same avenue as that, so we are looking at that also. And yes, so the downloading from the province is exactly what it is to the municipality again, so it is a big responsibility and we are working on that. And we'll have a better, clearer report for you on the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just wondering if you can give us some idea as to the potential cost of this moving forward, would
Oh,
be very
definitely.
helpful. Okay, excellent. I'll ask the Mayor Love, she's got her hand up. Yeah, you're muted there.
Sorry about that. I turned it
No
off so
problem.
I wouldn't.
I can read lips, but not that good.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, I think one of the biggest challenges you have with identifying the costs is you don't know what the goal is. You don't know what we're being asked to do. We have a perfectly excellent trainer facilitator program that has met our needs for many, many years. But is the ask here that there's going to be a need for a certain level of training that we currently don't provide? This is the thing we don't know. So if we don't know what level of training is going to be required, it's very hard to identify what the cost is going to be, because we currently do provide a perfectly legitimate, excellent training system with in-house with our facilitator trainers, which is augmented by, the ability to take some online courses. And occasionally, when it's something very specific, you do have one of our firefighters go and train for a specific subject matter. But if we don't know whether the requirement is going to be that a volunteer firefighter be trained to the same level as a professional firefighter, for example, it's pretty difficult to know what the costs will be. The higher the province and the fire marshal's office raises the bar for training, obviously the more it's going to cost, the more difficult it is going to be to achieve. So I think it's again very difficult for you to assess those costs until you know what's the objective, what is being asked of us that isn't asked of us now. And again, very challenging for you, because I don't know how you would identify the costs until you know exactly what needs to happen.
No, very good point, and it is a moving target. My question to the chief was the cost. He brought up when we talked about the computer program, that was what I was thinking of specifically. That might be information which he could gather on his own while we're waiting to hear back from the fire people. But I think there's a lot of work to be done, and I think we have to understand that it is going to cost more money and certainly a lot of preparation for this. So anything further from any of the members of council? Okay, Chief, would you like to continue there?
That is the end of that report, Chair Poplinski. And then we got the communication from the Ontario Fire College.
Yes, please.
That just
like
sort of outlines.
If I may, through the chair, we did miss item 7.1.3, which is the budget to actual report.
Okay.
If you wanted to touch on that.
Okay, so everyone should have a copy of that. Yes, Mayor Love?
Sorry. Sorry, Chair.
No problem. I'm just trying
I'd
to find mine
identified
here.
a question here. Just in terms of, now what page am I on? Sorry. For council's information, page 94 of the package. It's the fire department budget. I just want to ask on South Fire Hall heat. Again, the actual in 2020 is $2,851, and at the moment in 2021 it says $2,144. That would be half a year. So again, if we could just investigate whether there's a posting error in that, or are we anticipating there being a significantly higher cost to heat that hall, because we're coming fairly close to the full year cost in a half year's worth. So that was just my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Oh, if we can have Amanda look into that, that would be great. Anything else? Any further questions from committee? Okay. Okay, so you've got, I think the dealing, of course, with the emergency preparedness and as well animal control. No questions on that. I don't see any hands up, so we can move on. And so we're dealing with the recommendations. Was that, and I didn't mention at the time. I thought we would put them together. But we accepted the fire call breakdown and the activity the fire department received as information. And so we move on to 7.2, correspondence and information. And it's a letter from the fire marshal's communique and that regarding the training 7.2. And we touched on a few things previously, but I think there's more here, Corey, that you wanted to talk about, was there?
Well, this is just a communication for the fire marshal himself, explaining the changing for the fire college. What it is, he gives us and the council a breakdown of what courses are available online, which is blended, which means online and have to go to a regional training center to complete the test or the physical part of it. It also gives a current map of all the training centers that are currently actually certified at this point in time. It has Chalk River, which is in the process of the legal part of it, which is very close to being a Renfrew County training center, which is good news for us. So that's just our more of general information of what's where, the breakdown of each section for each sort of training area. We're part of the Northeast training area, which is a former fire chief, Grant Love, was a fire chief from North Bay. He was also one of the instructors up at the college. So he's sort of our go-to person for the regional training center for any questions or inquiries. So they got that kind of laid out better than they did before, but it's just sort of a general information to sort of their kind of basic blueprint is, but they haven't given us it in concrete, but they finally give some kind of a hard copy of something what their plans are kind of to look forward towards.
Corey, do we have any new members right now that haven't received their basic training?
We'll have a couple coming up here shortly. They're just waiting for the paper to come in. They'll be starting all brand new, but there'll be one person that's coming on as a fully trained firefighter from Alberta. That person's had their experience, so they'll have their same level firefighter 1 and firefighter 2, but I'll have one recruit, possibly 2, one each hall, because of people have moved out of the area. So that'll become the next meeting once they get their paperwork lined up.
So how are you dealing with these people? Just, are they allowed to take some training, but not the 101 firefighting type of thing?
Once they get hired on, we'll start off with their basic firefighter training, but we'll make sure they still do their basic fire lines, their very, very basic entry. And once they get signed off on that, they'll be able to start responding to calls and they'll get hands-on training. They'll do their own sort of a more. So
you would have your full complement of people then on board?
Pretty much, yes, we will. If we hired the 2 down in the South Hall, once you get the paperwork in, the 1 in the North Hall, we'll back up to our full complement again.
Okay. Any comments from council? Yes, Mayor Love.
Chief, do you know if we are, I know we're in the, the Northeast Ontario region. Are we restricted to using a training center in that region? Are we able to use a training center in an adjacent region? Because we've kind of been stuck to the north. Whereas, for example, I noticed there's one in Mississippi Mills, which is 159 kilometers away from the Combermere Fire Hall, for example, which might actually work very well for someone who needed to go and do a weekend of in-person training and testing. So are we stuck to using the regional training centers that are provided in our region, or can our firefighters go to any regional training center?
Any firefighter can go to any regional training center anywhere in Ontario. We're just putting to that, so we have a contact person for that area. So there's one person to go to if we have a question, but I can apply to any regional training center for any firefighter anywhere in Ontario that course is offered, and they can be sent there at any time if that opening is available.
Okay, that's fantastic to know, and I'm still definitely pulling for Chalk River, because that one's only about 130 kilometers away from the South Hall. and it would be closer for the North Hall. So, you know, good to know. And is there any letters of support or anything that we can do to facilitate the center that's proposed for Chalk River, or is it underway and we're just awaiting an approval?
We just completed a survey, all the fire chiefs last week to Chalk River, saying whether we support it and what we would use, what course we were looking for. And after that goes through, the chief of CNL Laboratories will get a hold of us and ask for a letter of support from the councils in the near future. That just came up last week, so I can provide you that information.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Corey, just right after our last meeting a month ago, you mentioned that you were meeting with other fire chiefs and there was a whole lot of issues you would be raising with the ministry. And so are there still some things unanswered? Obviously there are, but things that you can, or some things that's already been decided that you could share with us today?
Right now, the only thing they did done to us is give us that grant. That's the only thing they've provided so far. That's the only answer we had talked to the fire chiefs or the Ontario Fire Marshal since. Like the chiefs have brought up the regional training center. We tried to ask all these questions, but the problem is it hasn't answered anything since. Other than they said, here's $5 million from last, like the 2020 provincial budget. They haven't said anything about the 2021 provincial budget yet. So that's where that $5 million came from. That $5,600 we got was out of the 2020 budget. So 2021, we haven't heard a thing from them yet.
Okay. Any questions from council members? I don't see any hands up, Corey. So if that's the extent of the report, we'll then look forward to getting more information from you as it comes. And going to move on to thank you, Corey. I think if you're probably going to stay around anyway, there's probably something dealing with one of the other issues. So 7.21.1 was what we just dealt with. So we're now 7.22, and it's a letter from the Solicitor General, March the 18th, 2021. And it's regarding the Ontario Provincial Police, the detachment boards. There's a fair amount of reading, and I've spent a lot of time on the internet and trying to get more information as to what's happening, and it's something that's going to take up not a lot of our resources, but I think time. And I'm just wondering, has anybody got any questions about the report itself? And pages 115 in your package.
And through the chair, I believe Mayor Love has a question.
Yes, Mayor Love.
Sorry, Chair. I guess my question is probably best directed to you, in that obviously there's a rapidly approaching deadline to submit a proposal for a police services board. I'm wondering, Chair, if in your capacity as our CPAC representative, if that group has had any discussion about preparing a proposal, or if there's a meeting upcoming in which that's going to be worked on, because it's pretty hard to know, it's difficult for you as our representative to represent council's wishes if there's no meeting and if we don't know what the proposal might look like for a police services board for us, and whether we would want more than one representative on it, for example.
Yeah, it's quite a long document, and after the meeting a month ago, I phoned the person that was responsible for setting up a Zoom meeting, and she responded, and I've shared the response with the office there, and I sent it off, I believe, to the CIO and to Gwen, and perhaps with it to your attention as well. And they are setting up a Zoom meeting, and I believe that Gwen has been working on that with this particular party. And now what they're encouraging is that the board would have at least 5 people. However, they also encouraging us to continue to work with the townships that are currently part of the CPAC. And one of the 2 things that's going to happen is that we can appoint people. We'll have to pay them. And according to what the rules are laid down by the boards in Ontario, I tried to get some more specifics, but I got unlimited or piles of information. I'd have to go through it all in terms of, but there would be a number, a financial number, which people would have to be compensated. These people that we are appointing would have to be approved by the Ontario government. They also get to appoint 2 people, and they could be anybody that would be coming. I'm trying to find out, do we have to pay if they appoint somebody from Toronto? Do we have to pay their travel up here? But we can absolutely expect someone from outside our community to be sitting on our police boards telling us what to do. So I encourage every member listening today to read up on it, see what they're actually proposing. And it's, everyone has to take the diversity training. Everyone has to agree to what's happening with regard to that. So it's something that it could have major financial implications for us. The cost of the policing itself, that's going to continue, but the cost of maintaining the boards is a financial thing which we haven't had before. So yes, Madam CAO.
I just wanted to add to that. So the deputy clerk has forwarded the information to the secretary of CPAC following the email we received from Councillor Poplinski, which was clarification. I do have those 2 paragraphs, Chair Poplinski, if you'd like me to read the response that you received.
Would you? Yes, please, because I misplaced my document here.
So basically it's stated, we are currently organizing virtual information sessions upon request, so do not yet have a schedule. However, we can organize one for your municipality and for the other municipalities within your detachment area if you feel it would be helpful. In the meantime, we are available to support you directly as you develop the proposal for ministry consideration. Members of detachment boards will be compensated in a similar manner to current police service board members. Municipalities will be responsible for their remuneration, and there will be a minimum amount prescribed in regulation.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Mary Love.
Okay, so having read through the information that has been provided here, I note that a board can recommend individuals to represent the province, and obviously it would be within, as the board is being developed and the proposal is being prepared, it would behoove us to recommend individuals that are within our area to represent the province. And I don't know what the criterion are going to be, but obviously we don't want somebody coming from Toronto with no understanding of our local policing needs representing us, and engaged representing the province, but with no understanding of what we try to do here in terms of policing. They may have much higher expectations for policing than are even doable in our area based on staffing, based on affordability, certainly. So I think I'd be much more comfortable if I knew that a meeting was set up and that you were representing us and we were getting some information back on what the group proposes, whether, as I said, we would be putting forward 2 members, whether we'd be putting forward 1 member. It doesn't have to be the person, but just sort of just a sense of the numbers, because however many municipal representatives there are, that then obviously from what we're seeing here, that then tells us how many citizens need to also be included and how many provincial representatives. So I'd really love to see that preliminary meeting happen, and for you to be able to bring us back some information. It would give me great comfort to have a clue what was going on. I'm sure it would give you great comfort as well to start the process.
I agree. And what I would like to see happen is I'd love to see all of council take part in the Zoom meeting, which they'd be allowed to do. And I think it's very important because there's some prerequisites, like the police only want to have 1 board in their detachment area. And of course, their detachment area, what we're dealing with here, we're dealing with people outside, not just the 5 municipalities, but they cover quite a large area. And so if we have 5 townships and they all want to have 1 member, and then we also have appointed members. So we're more than the 5 minimum, which of course is the minimum requirement. And of course, you don't want to have 15 or 16 because that would be almost impossible but there are many issues when we look at the makeup of this group. So it's so important to have a good understanding. So I would encourage all members of council to, as soon as we know when the Zoom meeting is going to be, and there will be a report then coming that I will do. So I would encourage that. And I know Gwen's been working on it with the lady at the Solicitor General's office. Okay. Any other comments about it? Yeah, it's something that I'm sure a short time ago we never envisioned this happening, but it is happening, and we need to be proactive and deal with it. Okay. Okay. So
Chair, I'm
yes,
sorry. Councillor
I'm
Wilmer
sorry.
has his hand up.
Here,
Councillor
sorry
Wilmer.
about that. Please
Thank
continue.
you. Thank you, Chair. My only comment was really on the composition and size of the board. As Councillor Pawlinski or Mayor Love indicated, we're already dealing with 5 municipalities minimum, and we will have 5 members there, plus other appointed members. And I think we have to keep in mind too, I mean, not only does it become unwieldy at a certain size, but again, a point that has been raised is we will also be covering the costs. So the larger the board, the more people that we'll have to pay too. So I think that has to be kept in mind. So I think it's a really good idea to have all members of council available for a session on this, to listen in and really understand what we're going to end up with here.
Very, very good point. Anyone else wish to comment? But I hope we're hoping that this is going to happen because of the deadline. It's a very sensitive issue, and I haven't got the deadline. Actually, is Monday, June the 7th, which is 2 months away. And so there's a lot of work to be done, and it hasn't been addressed at all at the CPAC because it's an entirely different framework and reporting in the job requirement is entirely different. It's and anyone that served on the CPAC committee knows that basically you get to talk to the sergeant, and you get your billing for the year and any big problems type of thing, and there are a few other little things that come up, but there's very little interaction with the police officers that we'll be having in the future. And one of the things that it doesn't take very long to figure out what's happening in places right now that have their own police boards, and you don't have to go any further than Ottawa, and they have in every meeting they have anywhere from 25 to 30 activists that are after the police. It's almost impossible to function at the moment. And then I mentioned Ottawa, but that's only one of many, and that's what we can expect. So I would encourage everybody. I think we have a duty to listen to what's going on. They are arranging it, and I would assume it's going to happen. It could happen within the next week or so. And I'm sure that everybody will get notification on it and take part, because it's going to be a major part of what we're doing. Okay. Any further comments? Oh, yes, Mayor Love.
So Chair, it's one thing to arrange the information session, but I think someone also needs to arrange a meeting with our representatives to begin to have that discussion about how many from whom.
Yes.
Because this is a really short time frame, and it faces the challenges of trying to organize a whole new thing under COVID. Possibly we could be under lockdown by, for a whole month of this period of time. So as it is, things are fairly restricted. It's very difficult. You can't really meet in person at this point in time. So I'm just wondering, is there a municipality that's taking the lead directly after the information session that's going to organize this meeting for you? Like, is that Madawaska Valley? Is it Killaloe, Haggerty and Richards? I just think
I
we
haven't,
need to know.
if I can answer, I haven't had any contact with any other municipalities. As I say, the morning after our meeting or that same day I called, and the lady down there responsible was able to get in touch with me the following day and answer my questions. And then I shared that with you. And there were some changes which you mentioned. One of them was the fact that we could appoint, with their permission, somebody to represent that was not part of the original agreement. They were, but that came down and I got a further email on that issue. So what I'm seeing is that there's no one else within our CPAC group that have actually reached out to me. I've had the contact directly with the Solicitor General's office. And because when I saw the deadline of June the 7th, I thought, well, how is this going to happen? Sometimes we don't have CPAC meetings for months at a time, and that committee will be gone. So it could be a whole bunch. You have to have so many people, but they could be entirely different people on that committee. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody in the minimum amount, which they have in the regulations, is $100 a year for doing this. They pay commissioners in Toronto on the board $100,000. Okay, these are permanent positions. So all I'm saying is that if you can get somebody that would do this and put up with this stuff for $100 a month, good luck. So we're going to have a real problem. Yes, Madam CAO.
Just a note from the Deputy Clerk, the meeting will be set up to include CPAC as well as the councils of each of those CPAC areas.
Okay, excellent. That's good. Thank you. Okay, so if there's no further questions, then we'll move on. And where are we?
7.2.3.
Okay. Okay, it's a letter addressed to Mayor Love dealing with the emergency management of Ontario, and I hope everybody's got this in their package. And looks like we've complied and received. We're compliant with the regulations and the reports that have been submitted. So thank you to staff for doing that, looking after that. Were there any comments, Mayor Love, on that? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just was wondering if staff knows whether or not we're going to be required to do an emergency exercise this year. I believe due to COVID last year, we weren't actually required to do an exercise because we were busy living one. But I'd like to know if we're going to be required to do one this year, then it would be really nice if it didn't happen in December. So if we could maybe, I know everybody gets busy and it gets to be end of year and that's the last piece that we have to do for our compliance letter, but it would be really nice if it didn't have to happen in December.
Yes, Chief Quad.
Speaking to our field officer, she is waiting to hear back from the Emergency Management Ontario to see whether it's going to be required or not. We're still in limbo on that because of the third wave, but she does keep us updated pretty much weekly if she hears anything new. So as soon as I hear something, we will plan for it. But yes, I do agree with you. We'll have before December, take the stress off of everybody. So once I hear something concrete, I will pass on along the information. We will set something up if it's required as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's nothing further on that, I think that pretty much completes my my portion of the meeting. I'll hand the gavel back to the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We are literally at 12 o'clock. I'm just wondering, Chair Wilmer, did you want to do your report first, or would you prefer to take a break and have some lunch?
Let's have some lunch.
I mean, I'll leave that up to the rest of the council. I'm fine either way.
Okay, well, boy, Councillor Raplinsky, your mic picks everything up.
I'm making a motion that we have lunch.
Okay, moved by
Me too.
Polinsky, seconded by Counselor Schulis, that
Thanks,
we,
Mark.
can we take, what, is a half an hour enough? Is a half an hour okay? Any complaints with a half an hour for lunch? We're good? Okay. So moved by Counselor Polinsky, seconded by Counselor Schulis, that we take a half an hour for lunch and we'll return at 12:30. All those in favor? And that's carried. Everyone have a great lunch. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
back at 12:30.